Hey Mark, took a look at your video, and having an off-season training with a different gun just for fun is always a good time. So I'm not going to beat you up too bad about obviously a gun that you're not really familiar with. Um, this is your first time actually live firing, so I mean, man, good job making M, and kind of want to just talk about some general stuff to look at. If you're going to shoot iron sights a bit more, that I think could be improved, and then as well as just holding the gun, marksmanship fundamentals, all that kind of good stuff. So kind of the first thing to look at, just kind of a random, I think this is like what, halfway through, after you've already shot your first set, shooting it, just kind of breaking it all down bit by bit. When the gun gets to your eye line, pretty much shooting the gun immediately. That stuff all looks cool. But I know you mentioned the ammo's hot, but I don't really love how the gun recoils and returns. And kind of if you break it down, oh, this is actually a good one. If you kind of break down what's happening, I'm getting as close as I can. I want you to watch, obviously it's an unfamiliar gun, but watch very specifically just kind of your wrist area. And notice, the slide's starting to come back. See how it's like your arms kind of flop? Or kind of have like a wave where your wrist is breaking? To me it almost looks like, a wave, so to speak. And if you kind of just watch your arms from here to here, you kind of see that spot. So I think it's a problem with the wrist not being locked, and it's a different angle of grip. The gun weighs a different amount. The trigger's different. All that stuff. I totally get it. I don't know how much ammo how much you want to shoot, or if it'll just kind of be a fun thing. But I've even in my own training, sometimes like locking your wrist is a little bit different when you have a different gun at a different angle. The grip's different. So for me, even switching between Tanfoglio and Glock, it takes a little bit of work just because of how much different the gun feels. But there's definitely some reps where your wrists aren't being locked, and that's what's allowing your wrist to kind of flop around and the gun recoil, I think, more than it needs to. Another thing to kind of pay attention to is notice that you're quite clearly watching the front sight. And let's exaggerate a bit, or I'll talk a bit to kind of show you what I mean. When you are shooting, your eyes should be, out here, staring at the target where you want to hit, and then back here, the gun's going to kind of flip up and down, whatever, and you're just going to stay back here staring at where you want the sights, to go, and you're going to return the gun with your eyes. I want you to watch just the muzzle and watch how the muzzle lifts and returns. Do you see how you kind of, there's one. Notice how the muzzle did not get returned to, so notice where it's at, and then watch when it returns, how when it stops, how much higher it is. The gun's not being returned. Let's see how well I can do this. Let's maybe, go just a tick higher. Maybe. So you see where the gun's at now? The gun fires. And look when now, right before you start, here's your transitioning the gun. But right before you transition the gun, look at where you return the gun to. And if that's making sense, it's because you're actually watching the front sight. And when you watch the front sight, the gun's just going to return to, you're going to hit where you look. So if you're watching the front sight, it's not going to return like you're staring at the target. So anyway, just like it happens with the dot, you're definitely switching your vision to your front sight at times. The other thing I noticed you're staring at your front sight just like, it can happen with the dot during your target transitions. And I thought I just saw one of them. Yeah. Okay, so perfect timing, wouldn't you know it? I want you to watch your gun and then watch your face. Kind of bounce your attention back and forth. Notice how on this one, the gun stops. And then when the gun stops, see how your head's still moving? So right there, gun stops, look at your head. And then we still see like a body adjustment. That's because your eyes and your head are just following the gun. They're following the sights. And then when the sight got to the target, your head caught up and you stopped. Obviously, what we're looking for is the eyes to go first, then the sights follow. Again, things to be thinking about. I don't know how much time you're going to shoot iron sights, but you'll notice whether it's got a red dot or iron sights, it's a lot of the same issues show up. So as far as just kind of marksmanship fundamentals go, definitely watching the sights is a problem. We noticed that because of imprecise target transitions also. There was a couple where I saw... Notice how slowly you are to return the gun. Gun goes off. Same deal there. You were firing there. You switched your vision, and then again after you stopped, how much higher the gun is. Kind of just barely see the sights above that. And then notice you're getting ready to transition the gun off, but how much higher it was due to your vision being shifted on the front sight. And then a couple of these, that one wasn't bad. There's some of them where I see you'll kind of, you'll move the gun to where you think the target's going to be, and then you'll be watching the sight, and then you'll move your vision back to the target, and then we'll see a little correction afterwards also. So again, kind of returning it slow or deliberately is kind of a cause for that. The other drill, again, however much ammo you want to devote to this or however much training time, what you're kind of thinking. The other thing I would recommend is confirmation drill. Just like doing it with the dot, it's super valuable with iron sights. It's tough to say, reps, whatever. I would be willing to bet money, though. Those top shots are not from you like shooting too fast, not letting the gun settle down, because none of the splits you were firing were that crazy. I think what's happening is one shot, two shots, one shot, two shot, one shot, two shot. And I think the second shot is from you shift, like you look at the target, you switch your vision to your front sight, and then wherever the sight returns, you're just going to look at it and be like, yep, still got brown behind it, I'll keep sending it, if that makes sense. So anyway, I think that's what's causing those high shots also. And then especially confirmation drill. I mean, frankly, whether it's dot or irons, this target just is not going to cut it. So, picking a very precise spot, wherever you want to hit, likely somewhere around there, I would think. And then shooting confirmation drill. What does that actually look like? On which targets can you shoot to a blur of the fiber in your front sight? And a target like this is probably a confirmation 3 target where you see the front sight stopped, you see it clearly through the rear notch, it's centered, alignment's correct, and then you press the trigger. Because I don't think that you're not capable of making these shots. It's just how much you have to aim with the sights. What do you have to see? What does the sights have to look like before it's time to send it? So, and then on this target, you had, I think, some drag on. Yeah, and you called it. You knew it happened. So, anyway, that's good. So, hopefully that'll make sense. Of course, if you have any questions, leave them below.